The great hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with quiet conversations. Representatives from dozens of alien species filled the crystal seats, their various forms creating a rainbow of colors and shapes. Some looked like giant birds with golden feathers. Others resembled walking crystals that sparkled in the light. The insect-like hive members clicked their mandibles together, while the reptilian saurians sat with their long tails curled around their chairs. At the center of it all stood Ambassador Zefkar. His green scales were marked with old battle scars, and his yellow eyes held the weight of many years. He had served the Saurian Confederacy for over 2 centuries, longer than most species even lived. Today, he carried a message that no one wanted to hear. "Honored members of the Council," Zefkar began, his voice echoing through the hall. "I stand before you with an urgent warning about a species we recently discovered. They call themselves humans, and they live on a small blue planet they name Earth." A few council members shifted in their seats. Most had heard of Earth already. It was just another primitive world on the edge of the galaxy, barely worth mentioning. High Counselor Lyrian of the Etherian Republic ruffled her golden feathers. "Ambassador Zefkar, we appreciate your concerns, but these humans are barely past their stone age. Our scouts report they have only just learned to split the atom. They cannot even leave their own planet properly." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the hall. General Vextar of the Hive Collective made a sound like grinding metal. "Why waste our time with such primitives? My swarm could take their world in a single day." Zefkar raised his clawed hand. "That is exactly the thinking that will doom us all. I have studied these humans for 3 years. I have watched their history, learned their ways. They are not like other species we have encountered." The council chamber fell quieter, but Zefkar could see the doubt in their eyes. These beings had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had conquered countless worlds, absorbed hundreds of species into their empires. To them, Earth was just another target. Other species, Zefkar continued, follow predictable patterns. When faced with superior force, they surrender. When offered terms, they negotiate. When defeated, they accept their place. Humans do none of these things. Counselor Lyrian's head tilted to one side. "What do you mean?" "Humans are the only species I know that evolved as both hunter and hunted. Every other race in this council either became peaceful plant eaters or aggressive predators. Humans became both. They learned to work together like no other species, but they also learned to fight like demons when threatened." The crystalline representative of the Vorthan Empire spoke in a voice like singing glass. "Surely you exaggerate. Our records show they still fight wars among themselves. How dangerous can they be?" Zefkar's tail lashed behind him. "That is what makes them terrifying. They fight each other constantly, yes. But when an outside threat appears, they unite faster than any species I have seen. In their history, they have faced ice ages, plagues, natural disasters that would have ended other civilizations. Each time, they adapted and grew stronger." General Vextar clicked his mandibles dismissively. "Pretty words, old lizard. But words do not stop plasma cannons or shield generators." "No," Zefkar agreed. "But humans do something else. They learn, faster than anyone. In their short history, they went from riding animals to flying in space in less than 100 years. They went from simple tools to computers that think in even less time." The ambassador walked closer to the center of the hall. "I have seen their entertainment, their stories. Other species tell tales of heroes who follow destiny or accept fate. Human stories are about ordinary people who refuse to give up, who find ways to win against impossible odds. This is not just fiction to them. This is how they think." A hologram flickered to life above the council floor. It showed a blue and green planet spinning slowly in space. Earth looked peaceful from this distance, covered in swirling white clouds. "I know what you are thinking," Zefkar said. "You look at that small world and see easy conquest. You see resources to claim and primitives to enslave. You think one fleet, maybe 2, would be enough." The hologram changed, showing images from Earth's surface. Humans walked through their cities, worked in their fields, played with their children. They looked small and fragile. "But I have learned something that chills my blood," Zefkar continued. "Humans have a saying, It is not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. They have been fighting and surviving on a world that has tried to kill them for millions of years. Diseases, predators, disasters, other humans. Nothing has ever made them quit. High Counselor Lyrian stood up. Ambassador, even if everything you say is true, they are still just one planet. We command thousands of worlds, billions of ships, trillions of soldiers. How could they possibly threaten us? Zefkar's yellow eyes seemed to glow in the chamber's light. Because, Honor Counselor, you are thinking like a civilized being. You follow rules of war that have existed for millennia. You fight with honor and tradition. Humans will throw all that away if it means winning. They will turn their own planet into a weapon if they must. They will sacrifice everything to protect their home. And if you push them far enough, if you hurt them badly enough, they will not just fight to defend themselves. They will fight to make sure you can never threaten anyone again. The chamber erupted in laughter. Several representatives made rude gestures or sounds. General Vextar's laughter sounded like breaking metal. "Old fool," the general said. "Your mind has gone soft with age. Primitives with sticks and stones cannot threaten the might of the Hive Collective." Other council members joined in the mockery. The Vorthan representative's crystalline body rang like bells as it shook with laughter. Even dignified Counselor Lyrian seemed amused. Zefkar stood silently until the laughter died down. His scarred face showed no anger, only deep sadness. "I have given you my warning," he said quietly. "I have served this council faithfully for 200 years. I have never steered you wrong. But I see that fear has made you deaf to wisdom." He walked toward the exit, his claws clicking on the crystal floor. At the doorway, he turned back one last time. "When humans come, and they will come, remember this day. Remember that someone tried to warn you. Do not attack Earth. Do not threaten humanity. If you do, I promise you this, they will turn your empires to ashes." The great doors closed behind him, leaving the council in stunned silence. Then the laughter started again, louder than before. Within 6 months, 3 different empires had launched fleets toward Earth. Each one was certain they would be the first to claim the prize. None of them would return home. 6 months after the warning, the Hive Collective arrived at Earth with confidence and arrogance. General Vextar commanded a fleet of 200 ships, each one the size of a city. His swarm soldiers numbered in the millions, bred for war and conquest. In his long career, he had taken over 50 worlds. None had lasted more than a week. Earth would be different. The human detection systems picked up the alien fleet while it was still 3 days away. Admiral Kate Murphy stood in the command center of humanity's newest space station, watching the incoming ships on her screens. She was 45 years old, with gray streaks in her brown hair and eyes that had seen too many battles on Earth. "How many?" she asked her communications officer. 200 ships, Admiral. Big ones. They're not trying to hide." Kate nodded. 3 months ago, she had been fighting pirates in the asteroid belt with a handful of patrol boats. Now she commanded Earth's entire space defense fleet. It had grown fast once the governments realized aliens were real and coming. "Send a message we prepared," she ordered. "All frequencies, all languages we know." The message was simple. "Unknown ships, you are entering Earth space without permission. State your intentions or leave immediately." General Vextar received the message and translated it instantly. His mandibles clicked in what passed for laughter among his kind. Primitives making demands. How amusing. He opened a channel to Earth. "Humans of the planet Earth, I am General Vextar of the High Collective. You will surrender immediately and prepare for integration into our empire. Resistance will result in the destruction of your cities and the enslavement of your population." Kate listened to the translation and felt her jaw tighten. She had expected this, but hearing it still made her angry. "Communications, patch me through to all Earth Defense Forces. All ships, all stations, all ground installations." Her voice carried to every human military unit in the solar system. "This is Admiral Murphy. The aliens have just demanded our surrender and threatened to enslave us. You know what the answer is." From 1,000 ships and stations came the same response. Never. Kate smiled grimly. That's what I thought. All units, weapons free. Show them what humans do to bullies. The battle began badly for Earth. The Hive ships were massive and well-armed. Their first volley destroyed 3 human cruisers and badly damaged the orbital defense platform. General Vextar watched with satisfaction as the primitive ships scattered like frightened animals. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of running away or begging for mercy, the humans regrouped and attacked. Captain Jake Sullivan commanded the destroyer USS Liberty. His ship was tiny compared to the alien vessels, but he had an idea the enemy would never expect. Instead of trading long-range fire, he ordered his ship to ram one of the smaller Hive vessels. At the last second, he activated every escape pod on his ship. The pods scattered like seeds, each one carrying a squad of Marines in combat suits. While the Hive crew tried to understand what had happened, 40 human soldiers were already inside their ship. The fighting inside the Hive ship was brutal and quick. The alien crew had never faced boarding action before. They were used to fighting in space, ship against ship. They had no idea how to handle armed humans running through their corridors. Jake's Marines moved like they had trained for this their whole lives. They used the ship's own layout against the defenders, turning every junction into an ambush point. Within an hour, they had captured the bridge. Admiral Murphy, Jake reported over the radio, USS Liberty is gone, but we got ourselves an alien ship. And Admiral, you need to see this technology. Meanwhile, on the ground, Commander Lisa Park was preparing Earth cities for invasion. She had served in urban warfare on Earth and knew how to turn streets into death traps. When the first Hive dropships landed in New York, they found the city ready for them. The aliens expected to face primitive weapons and panic civilians. Instead, they walked into carefully planned ambushes. Human snipers fired from buildings that looked empty. Booby traps exploded under their feet. The very road seemed to fight against them. Lisa watched from her command post as the alien soldiers stumbled through a maze of obstacles. They're too used to easy fights, she told her staff. They've forgotten how to handle real resistance. But the real breakthrough came from Dr. Ben Carter, a scientist who had been studying alien biology since the first contact. He was not a soldier, but he understood something important about the enemy. They're like a hive mind, he explained to Admiral Murphy over a secure channel. They communicate through bioelectric signals. But their system has a weakness. It's not prepared for information overload. Ben had connected Earth's internet to captured alien communication equipment. The Hive soldiers suddenly found their minds flooded with human data. Millions of web pages, videos, music files, and random digital noise. The effect was devastating. Hive soldiers stopped mid-battle, clutching their heads as their minds tried to process the impossible flood of information. Some simply shut down. Others began firing wildly at nothing. General Vextar watched in growing horror as his perfect invasion fell apart. His soldiers were confused, his ships were being captured by primitives, and somehow the humans were learning to use high technology faster than his own engineers could adapt. The final blow came when Jake Sullivan, now commanding his captured Hive ship, used its own weapons to attack the flagship. The irony was not lost on General Vextar as his own technology turned against him. All ships retreat, he finally ordered. Immediate withdrawal. But the humans were not done. As the Hive fleet tried to escape, Captain Sarah Martinez led a squadron of fighters in a pursuit attack. Her ships were small and fast, built in Earth orbital factories in the past 6 months. They swarmed around the retreating aliens like angry wasps. Sarah's voice crackled over the radio. Admiral, should we let them go? Kate Murphy stood in her command center, watching the enemy flee. Part of her wanted to say yes, to let them run and hope they never came back. But she remembered the general's words about enslaving humanity. Negative, Captain. Make sure they remember this day. But let enough of them escape to carry the message back to their empire. The one-sided slaughter continued for another hour. By the time it ended, only 50 of the 200 Hive ships made it out of Earth's solar system. General Vextar was not among the survivors. As the last alien ship disappeared into hyperspace, Admiral Murphy opened a channel to all Earth forces. Good work. everyone. But this is just the beginning. They'll be back, and they'll bring friends. We need to be ready. Dr. Carter appeared on her screen from the research station. Admiral, we've learned more about alien technology in the past day than we thought possible. If we can study these captured ships properly. Do it, Kate ordered. And Ben, I want you to think about something else. They came here planning to conquer us. Maybe it's time we return the favor. Around Earth, the captured Hive ships were being stripped down and studied. Human engineers worked day and night to understand propulsion systems, weapons, and communications equipment. What they found changed everything. The aliens had better technology, but they had stopped innovating centuries ago. Their ships were powerful but predictable. Their tactics were rigid and outdated. Most importantly, they had never faced an enemy that could adapt as quickly as humans. Within a week, the first human-built ships incorporating alien technology rolled out of Earth's factories. They looked nothing like traditional spacecraft. Human engineers had combined alien power systems with their own creative designs. The message that reached the Galactic Council was simple and terrifying. The humans had not just survived the attack. They had won. And now, they were building ships of their own. Ambassador Zethkar received the report in his private chambers. He felt no satisfaction at being proved right. Instead, he felt deep fear for what would come next. The humans had tasted blood, and they would not forget who had drawn first. President Alex Rodriguez stood before the United Nations Assembly, but this time the meeting was different. Every seat was filled, every screen was active, and every human on Earth was watching. The attack on Earth had changed everything. My fellow humans, Alex began, his voice steady and determined. 6 days ago, aliens came to our world. They demanded our surrender. They threatened to enslave us. They believed we were weak and primitive. He paused, letting his words sink in around the world. They were wrong. The assembly erupted in applause, but Alex raised his hand for silence. We defended ourselves, and we won, but we cannot stop there. As long as there are empires in the galaxy that see us as slaves or resources, none of us are safe. Alex's next words will be remembered for centuries. We will not just defend Earth. We will make sure no one ever threatens humanity again. We will take our place among the stars, not as subjects, but as equals. In laboratories around the world, scientists worked with fever that amazed even themselves. Dr. Rachel Stone had been a theoretical physicist before the invasion. Now she led the most important research project in human history. The aliens made a mistake, she explained to her team in the underground lab in Switzerland. They showed us their technology, but they don't understand ours. They've been using the same designs for thousands of years. We've been innovating for our entire existence. Rachel's team had been studying the capture Hive ships for 6 days straight. What they found was revolutionary. Alien technology was powerful, but simple. It was like finding a race car that still used a wooden steering wheel. Look at this, she said, pointing to an alien power core. This generates enough energy to power a small city, but the control systems are primitive. They never had to worry about efficiency or safety because they had all the resources they wanted. Her assistant, Dr. Kevin Morris, looked up from his computer. Rachel, if we combine their power source with our quantum processors, we could build ships that think and adapt in real time. Exactly, Rachel smiled. They have brute force. We have brains. Let's see what happens when we put them together. Meanwhile, General Chris Anderson was facing a different challenge. He stood in a training facility that had been built in 2 weeks, watching the first class of human space Marines practice zero-gravity combat. These soldiers were different from anything the galaxy had seen. Most alien races either evolved in space or on planet surfaces. Humans had evolved on a world with changing seasons, varied environments, and constant challenges. They adapted to new conditions faster than anyone thought possible. Sergeant Tony Walsh floated through the training course, moving in 3 dimensions like he had been born in space. 6 months ago, he had been fighting in Earth's mountains. Now, he was learning to use alien weapons while flying through zero gravity. The key, General Anderson explained to his officers, is that our people don't think in straight lines. Every other military in the galaxy fights like they're still on flat ground. our soldiers think in all directions at once. Lieutenant Maria Santos demonstrated by attacking the training target from below while spinning to avoid return fire. Her movements were fluid and unpredictable, nothing like the rigid formations alien armies used. "Sir," she reported after landing, "these alien weapons are powerful, but they're designed for simple tactics. If we modify them for our fighting style—" "Do it," Anderson ordered. "I want every weapon, every piece of equipment, every vehicle redesigned for human warfare. If the aliens want to fight, let's give them one they'll never forget." In Earth's orbital shipyards, engineer Maya Patel was creating something the galaxy had never seen. Her team was building the first generation of human starships, and they looked nothing like alien vessels. Traditional alien ships were long and symmetrical, built for straight-line battles between organized fleets. Maya's ships were modular and asymmetrical, designed to split apart and recombine during combat. "Think of them like puzzle pieces," she explained to Admiral Murphy during a design review. "Each section can operate independently, but they're stronger when connected. If we lose part of a ship, the rest keeps fighting." The Admiral studied the designs with interest. "What about weapons?" "That's the beautiful part," Maya grinned. "Each module has its own weapons and power system. A single ship can become 5 smaller ships, or 5 ships can combine into one larger vessel. The aliens won't know what to expect." Maya's first prototype, the Ranger, looked like no ship ever built. Its hull was dark and angular, covered in sensors and weapons that could be reconfigured at will. It carried a crew of 30 humans who had trained for months to work as one mind. 1 year after the first battle at Earth, Captain Nicole Hayes stood on the bridge of humanity's first true dreadnought, the UES Defiance. The massive ship was a fusion of human innovation and alien technology, bristling with weapons that no empire had ever seen before. Nicole was 38 years old, with short black hair and scars on her hands from her early days as a fighter pilot. She had grown up on Mars Colony, back when humans thought they were alone in the universe. Now she commanded the most powerful warship in known space. "Captain," her sensors officer called out, "we're approaching the Kepler system. The Vorthan fleet is exactly where intelligence said it would be." Nicole studied the tactical display. 50 Vorthan crystalline ships hung in space around a mining world, their surfaces gleaming like jewels. On that world, 3 different alien species worked as slaves in underground mines, extracting rare metals for the Empire. "How many prisoners on the surface?" she asked. "Approximately 50,000, from 3 species. The Zephyrians, the Deltans, and some Saurians who were captured during border conflicts." Nicole nodded. This would be the largest liberation mission humans had attempted so far. "Communications, send the usual message." The transmission went out on all frequencies. "Vorthan Fleet, this is Captain Nicole Hayes of the Terran Liberation Force. You are commanded to release all prisoners on this world immediately. You have 1 hour to comply." The response came quickly from the Vorthan commander. His voice sounded like singing crystal, beautiful but cold. "Human vessel, you are outnumbered 50 to 1. Withdraw now or be destroyed." Nicole smiled grimly. "That's what they all say. Tactical are our friends in position." "Yes, Captain. The Saurian fleet is holding at the system edge, and the free Deltan ships are ready to move on your signal." This was the new reality of galactic warfare. Everywhere humans went, they found species that had been conquered and enslaved by the great empires. When offered freedom and alliance instead of domination, most chose to fight alongside humanity. All ships. Nicole broadcasted her small fleet of 20 vessels. "Remember the plan. We're not here to destroy everything. We're here to free people and send a message." The battle began with the Vorthans confident in their numerical advantage. Their crystalline ships fired concentrated beams of energy that could cut through most armor. But human ships didn't fight like most ships. The Defiance split into 5 sections, each one moving independently, while staying connected by quantum communication links. The smaller human vessels scattered like a school of fish, using their speed and agility to avoid the Vorthan's powerful but slow weapons. Colonel Sam Wright led the marine assault from his command ship, the Liberation. His job was to get ground forces to the planet, while the fleet kept the enemy busy in space. Drop ships away, he reported to Nicole. 200 Marines heading for the surface. We'll have those prisoners free in 6 hours. The Vorthan commander watched in confusion as the human tactics unfolded. His ships were designed for the traditional fleet battles that had dominated galactic warfare for millennia. 2 lines of ships facing each other, trading fire until one side retreated or was destroyed. Humans didn't follow those rules. They attacked from all directions at once, their ships working together like a pack of wolves. When a Vorthan ship tried to pursue one human vessel, 2 others would attack it from behind. This is impossible. The Vorthan admiral crystallized in frustration. They have no formation, no discipline. How are they winning? His tactical officer, a younger crystal being, had been studying human combat reports. Sir, I think that's exactly the point. They're not trying to win a traditional battle. They're trying to cause chaos and confusion. On the planet's surface, Colonel Wright's Marines were doing exactly that. They had studied the mining complex for weeks, learning the layout and identifying key targets. Instead of a frontal assault, they appeared simultaneously at a dozen different locations. The Vorthan guards were crystalline beings who relied on their natural armor and energy weapons. They had never faced human infantry tactics before. Wright soldiers used mine tunnels like a 3-dimensional battlefield, appearing from unexpected directions and vanishing before the enemy could respond. Dr. Amy Foster was with the ground team, but her job wasn't fighting. She was humanity's leading expert on alien psychology and diplomacy. Her mission was to convince the freed prisoners to join the human cause. She found the Saurian prisoners first, deep in the worst part of the mines. They looked up in surprise as human soldiers appeared, expecting another group of masters. "We're here to free you," Amy said in the Saurian language. "We're humans from Earth, and we're fighting to end slavery in this galaxy." The eldest Saurian prisoner, a female named Kessera, stared at her in disbelief. "Humans? But you're just primitives from the edge worlds." Amy smiled and handed her a weapon. "Not anymore. Would you like to help us free your people?" Within an hour, the freed prisoners had become allies. The Saurians knew the mine layouts better than anyone. The Deltans, who were naturally gifted engineers, began sabotaging Vorthan equipment. The Zephyrians, with their ability to fly, became scouts and messengers. Back in space, the tide of battle was turning. The human ships had destroyed or disabled half the Vorthan fleet, without losing a single vessel. Captain Nicole watched with satisfaction as enemy ships tried desperately to adapt to human tactics. "Captain," her communications officer announced, "we're receiving a transmission from the freed prisoners on the surface." The view screen lit up with the face of Kessera, the Saurian elder. Behind her, thousands of former slaves cheered and waved weapons they had taken from their guards. "Captain Hayes," Kessera said, "the surface is secure. The prisoners are free, and many wish to join your cause." Nicole felt a surge of pride. "Welcome to the Alliance, Kessera. How many of your people want to fight for freedom?" "All of us." The Vorthan admiral finally understood what was happening. This wasn't just a military attack. It was something far more dangerous to the established order, a revolution. "All ships retreat," he ordered. "Send word to the capital." The humans are not just liberating prisoners. They're building an army. As the remaining Vorthan ships fled, Nicole opened communications with Admiral Murphy back at Earth. "Mission accomplished, Admiral. We freed 50,000 prisoners and gained 3 new allied species. The Defiance performed perfectly." Admiral Murphy's voice carried across the light years instantly, thanks to quantum communication technology reverse engineered from captured alien ships. "Excellent work, Captain. But we got bigger news here. Our scouts have identified 12 more prison worlds within 50 light years of Earth. Each one holds thousands of potential allies." Nicole felt her heart race with excitement. "Orders, Admiral?" "Free them all. Every prisoner, every slave, every species that wants a chance at liberty. Show the galaxy that humanity doesn't conquer, we liberate." Dr. Foster appeared on the screen from the planet's surface. "Admiral, the psychological impact is enormous. Word is spreading faster than our ships can travel. Enslaved species across the galaxy are hearing about human liberation forces. Some are already rebelling on their own. This was a development that terrified the great empires more than any weapon. For thousands of years, they had maintained order through fear and overwhelming force. Now, for the first time, their subjects believed that freedom was possible. Ambassador Zefkar received the reports in his private chambers and immediately sent a coded message to the Saurian Confederacy's military command. The message was simple. Officially, we remain neutral. Unofficially, help the humans however possible. The response came back within hours. Already doing so, 3 Saurian fleets are accidentally patrolling near human operation zones. If they need assistance, we will provide it. Similar messages were passing between governments across the galaxy. Even species that were not directly threatened by the empires were beginning to see humans as potential allies rather than enemies. Captain Hayes received new orders as the Defiance prepared to jump to its next target. This time, they would be accompanied by ships from 6 different species, all united under the banner of the growing Terran Alliance. "Where to next, Captain?" her navigator asked. Nicole studied the star charts, each one marked with the locations of prison worlds, slave colonies, and oppressed populations. The Centauri system. Intelligence says the Etherean Republic has a major detention facility there. Time to show those pretty golden birds what happens when you cage other species. Lieutenant James Scott, her tactical officer, looked concerned. "Captain, the Etherians are different from Avorthans or the Hive Collective. They're more civilized. They might actually negotiate instead of fighting." Nicole's expression hardened. "James, slavery is slavery, whether it's done with whips or with pretty words about protecting primitive species. The Etherians have been keeping other races as wards for centuries. That ends now." As the Defiance and its allied fleet jumped into hyperspace, Nicole thought about how much had changed in just 1 year. Humans had gone from a single planet to the leaders of a growing galactic rebellion. But she also knew that the real war was just beginning. The great empires were finally taking humanity seriously, and they would not give up their power without a fight. "Captain," her communications officer announced, "we're receiving a priority message from Earth Command. It's marked galaxy-wide alert." Nicole felt a chill run down her spine. Put it through. Admiral Murphy's face appeared on the screen, her expression grim. "All human forces, this is Earth Command. Our intelligence networks report that the 3 major empires are forming a joint task force. Estimated strength, over 5,000 ships." The bridge fell silent. Even with all their allies, the human forces numbered less than 300 ships. "They're calling it the Final Solution Fleet," Murphy continued. "Target, Earth. Estimated arrival, 6 months. All liberation missions are now secondary priority. It's time to come home and prepare for the fight of our lives." Nicole looked around at her crew, seeing her own determination reflected in their faces. "Communications, send a message to all allied fleets. Tell them the real war is about to begin. Anyone who wants to stand with humanity against tyranny is welcome. Anyone who doesn't, we understand." As responses came in from across the galaxy, Nicole felt a surge of hope. The Saurians pledged their entire fleet. The freed Deltans offered their engineering expertise. Even species that had never fought before volunteered to defend Earth. The great empires had made their choice. Now humanity would show them the price of that decision. The Final Solution Fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system like a storm of stars. 5,000 ships from 3 empires moved in perfect formation. Etherean golden vessels that looked like flying cathedrals. Crystalline Vorthan warships that sang as they flew, and the dark swarm ships of the rebuilt Hive Collective. Admiral Kate Murphy stood in the command center of Earth's largest orbital station, watching the enemy approach. Around her, officers from a dozen different species worked together at control stations. The human-led alliance had grown beyond anyone's imagination. "Final count, Admiral," reported Commander Lisa Park, now Murphy's chief of staff. "They have 5,000 ships. We have 800. Kate nodded calmly. The numbers looked terrible, but numbers didn't tell the whole story. "And how many of our ships are human-built?" 600, Admiral. The rest are allied vessels using our technology upgrades." "Good enough. Kate opened a channel to all Allied forces, all ships, all stations, all ground installations. This is Admiral Murphy. Today, the galaxy's oldest empires have come to Earth to end human freedom. They believe that superior numbers guarantee victory. She paused, looking out at the approaching fleet of enemies. They're about to learn why that's the last mistake they'll ever make. The enemy fleet commander was High Admiral Silas of the Etherian Republic, a golden-feathered being who had conquered more worlds than any living general. He had volunteered to lead this mission because he wanted to personally end the human rebellion. "Begin the attack," he ordered. "Destroy their orbital installations first, then move on to the planet itself. Leave no human ship operational." The first wave of alien ships moved forward, expecting the humans to form traditional battle lines. Instead, they found empty space. "Where are they?" demanded General Crixtal of the rebuilt Hive Collective. His answer came as 1,000 human fighters appeared from behind Earth's moon, moving faster than any ships the Empires had ever seen. These weren't the crude vessels humans had used a year ago. These were sleek, deadly craft that moved like living things. Captain Jake Sullivan, now commanding the fighter squadron Zeus, led the first attack. His ship and 50 others dove straight through the alien formation, their weapons carving holes in enemy hulls before vanishing back into space. "Hit and run," he called his pilots. "Don't let them pin you down. We're not here to trade punches. We're here to cut them apart piece by piece." The alien admirals watched in growing frustration as their mighty fleet was attacked by what looked like gnats. But these gnats had stings that could punch through any armor. High Admiral Silas tried to organize a proper response, but the humans refused to cooperate. Just as his ships began to pursue the fighters, the real human fleet appeared. Captain Nicole Hayes brought the Defiance and 200 other human warships out of hyperspace directly behind the alien fleet. But these ships looked nothing like the vessels from a year ago. The new human dreadnoughts were works of art and terror combined. Their hulls rippled and changed shape as they moved, adapting to different combat situations in real time. Weapons appeared and disappeared along their surfaces as needed. "Target the command ships," Nicole ordered. "Cut off their heads, and the rest will follow." The battle that followed was unlike anything in galactic history. The alien empires fought with the rigid tactics they had used for millennia. The humans fought like chaos given form. Human ships split apart and recombined during combat. They appeared from impossible angles, attacked from directions that shouldn't exist, and used the space around planets and asteroids like a three-dimensional chessboard. Colonel Sam Wright led the ground assault on the alien command ship that had landed on Earth's moon. His Marines had trained in every environment imaginable, and they moved through the enemy vessel like ghosts. "Remember," he told his troops, "we're not just fighting for Earth anymore. We're fighting for every species that wants to be free." The alien crew had never faced human infantry tactics. Wright's soldiers used every corner, every corridor, every air vent as a potential attack route. They appeared where enemies least expected them and vanished before counterattacks could be organized. Meanwhile, in space, Dr. Rachel Stone's latest weapons were changing the nature of warfare itself. Her quantum torpedoes didn't just destroy enemy ships. They turned their own technology against them. "Fire quantum spread," ordered Captain Martinez from her position on the UES Retribution. Her ship was one of the new human carriers, launching waves of intelligent missiles that could think and adapt on their own. The missiles struck the Vorthan crystalline ships and began rewriting their computer systems. Within minutes, entire enemy vessels were turning on their own fleets, their weapons controlled by human programming. High Admiral Silas watched his perfect formation dissolve into chaos. "This is impossible," he transmitted to his fellow commanders. "They're using our own ships against us." General Crixtal of the Hive Collective was having similar problems. His swarm ships relied on bioelectric communication, but human electronic warfare specialists had learned to hack even that. Half his fleet was receiving contradictory orders, with ships flying in random directions or attacking their own allies. "Pull back," he finally ordered. "Regroup at the edge of the system." But Admiral Murphy had anticipated this move. As the alien ships tried to retreat, They found their escape routes blocked by Allied fleets that had been waiting in hyperspace. Ambassador Zethkar commanded one of these fleets, his Saurian ships moving with deadly precision. "Admiral Murphy," he transmitted, "the Saurian Confederacy officially joins the Terran Alliance. Our people vote for freedom." Similar messages came from across the galaxy. The Deltan Engineering Guild pledged their support. The Zephyrian Flying Corps announced they were switching sides. Even some Etherian ships broke formation to join the human alliance. The tide of battle turned into a rout. The mighty Final Solution fleet, which had been assembled to destroy humanity once and for all, was being destroyed by the very species it had come to eliminate. High Admiral Silas found himself alone on his flagship bridge as his crew abandoned their posts. His beautiful golden ship, the pride of the Etherian Republic, was surrounded by human vessels. "Etherian flagship," came a transmission from Defiance. "This is Captain Nicole Hayes. You are ordered to surrender immediately." Silas looked around at his empty bridge. Through the windows, he could see the wreckage of his fleet floating in space. 5,000 ships had become fewer than 500 in just 6 hours. I surrender," he finally transmitted. The formal surrender took place on Earth's largest orbital station. Representatives from all 3 empires stood before Admiral Murphy and the Allied command staff, their heads bowed in defeat. But Murphy's next word surprised everyone in the galaxy. "You have 2 choices," she announced. "You can return to your empires and tell them that the old way of doing things is over. No more slavery, no more conquest, no more treating other species as property. Join the new galactic order as equals." She paused, studying the defeated admirals. "Or you can continue fighting, and we will hunt down every ship, every base, every installation that supports tyranny. We will turn your empires to ashes, just as Ambassador Zethkar warned you we would." High Admiral Silas looked up with confusion in his golden eyes. "You're not going to execute us?" "Why would we?" Murphy replied. "We're not conquerors. We're liberators. Go home. Tell your people what you've seen. Tell them that the galaxy has changed, and they can either change with it or be left behind." Over the following months, the transformation was remarkable. The Etherian Republic dissolved its slave colonies and began treating other species as equals. The Vorthan Empire freed its workers and started paying wages instead of using forced labor. Even the Hive Collective began developing individual consciousness among its members. Not all changes came peacefully. Some die-hard factions tried to maintain the old ways, but they found themselves facing not just human fleets, but revolts from their own subjects. The message had spread across the galaxy. Freedom was not just possible, it was inevitable. 6 months after the Battle of Earth, a new galactic council convened. This time it met on Earth in a massive station built by cooperative effort from dozens of species. Ambassador Zethkar, now serving as humanity's chief diplomatic advisor, addressed the assembled representatives. "A year ago, I stood before the old council and warned you about humanity. I told you they would turn your empires to ashes if you threatened them." He looked around at the mixed gathering, humans, Saurians, Etherians, Vorthans, and many others, all sitting as equals. "I was right about the ashes, but I was wrong about what would grow from them. Humanity didn't just destroy the old empires. They built something better in their place." Admiral Murphy stood to address the new council. "We didn't come to the stars looking for war. We came looking for peace. But we learned that sometimes you have to fight for the right to be peaceful." She gestured to the representatives around her. "This is what we fought for. Not human domination, but the freedom for every species to choose its own path. The galaxy is big enough for all of us to prosper together." The new galactic charter was signed that day, establishing principles that would have been unthinkable under the old empires: equality between species, freedom from slavery, the right of self-determination, and cooperative defense against any who would bring back the old ways. Captain Nicole Hayes, now promoted to Admiral, watched the ceremony from the observation deck of her new command, the UES Unity. The ship was a joint project, built with technology and crew members from a dozen different species. "Hard to believe it's only been 18 months since they first attacked us," her first officer, Commander Torres, observed. Nicole nodded. They thought we were primitives who would roll over and surrender. They didn't understand that humans have been fighting for survival our entire existence. We're not good at giving up. What now, Admiral? Torres asked. Nicole looked out at the stars, where human and alien ships patrol together, protecting trade routes and ensuring that the new freedom lasted. Now we explore. We learn. We grow. And we make sure that what happened to Galaxy under the old empires never happens again. In his private quarters, Ambassador Zethkar recorded his final report on the human phenomenon. To future historians, he began, let it be known that humanity succeeded not because they were the strongest or most advanced species, but because they understood something the old empires have forgotten. They understood that true strength comes from lifting others up, not keeping them down. They proved that the most powerful force in the galaxy is not fear or domination, but the simple idea that everyone deserves to be free. He paused, looking out at Earth, the blue world that had changed everything. The humans kept their promise. They turned the old empires to ashes. But from those ashes, they built a galaxy where any species, no matter how small or primitive, can reach for the stars and succeed. The human age had begun, and with it, a new chapter in galactic history, one built not on conquest, but on cooperation, not on fear, but on hope. And across the galaxy, on 1,000 worlds, former slaves looked up at the stars and knew that they, too, could be free.